Hey, those on GoToMeeting, we're trying to get the sound hooked up correctly. Give me a few minutes. Hello, give us a few minutes on GoToMeeting. We're trying to get the sound hooked up. Oh, it's a new toy. Oh, hang on for a minute. They'll give me. I'm not hooked up yet. Sorry, we're
Okay, so now, Judy, I'm told you can hear us. Will you speak and see if we can hear you?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yay! We got Judy! Okay, let us start with prayer. Would somebody else like to pray? It doesn't have to be me. Okay. The Lord be with you. Gracious God, you who created us and nourish us through the waters of baptism, nourish us through the food that we eat, nourish us with your very body. We ask that you be present with us as we discuss the food pantry and learn about some ways of dealing with a more challenging population. Help keep our hearts open. Help keep us kind. Let all we do glorify your most holy name. In Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So what I'm going to start with is a review of the Narcan. I know some of you have been through the Narcan training, but it doesn't hurt to repeat it. It's 7.5 minutes. So these are the Narcan kits. Karen checked the dates, so I will get replacements from Front Street, which is great. We can get them free because they can be quite expensive. They'll show you in the video what's in them and how to use them. If you would like to see the same things in here, you're more than welcome to examine them with gloves on, and just so that you know what they are. I keep them in with the first aid kits in the cabinet over the sink next to the copier, and Karen's been bringing one downstairs during the food pantry service so that anybody who is serving food knows where it's available. If y'all decide to lock it up in the cabinet downstairs or whatever, it's fine. Just make sure everybody knows where it is. Let's watch the video, and then I've got a couple of minutes in case you have comments or questions.
Talk for a minute or two more. I'm still setting it up.
Okay. So after that, just so you know, we're going to talk about some of the behaviors that might cause concern. I'll show you where to find information about different drugs and what they do to people, and the behaviors that result from being on the drugs, withdrawing from the drugs, combinations, long-term use, etc. But we could easily spend, there are people who obviously get degrees in it. By the way, all this information is from my research experience and classes that I've been taught. I am not a psychologist. I'm not a healthcare practitioner. This is from years on the street dealing with people. So I just want to make sure that it's clear it's not medical advice. But we just could easily spend, a class on each drug, each issue, and I don't know that is what would be helpful. What I'm going to focus on this evening is what are some things that I can do if somebody's behaving in a way that I need to shift for a variety of reasons. Then I'll give you just my philosophy and the behaviors with a couple of two illustrations. And then Brad wants to talk about the food handler's card. He has 5 minutes, and then we'll pray.
Well, and then Bob's got some stuff he's been working on.
Oh, okay. How much time? Let me build that into the agenda. How much time do you think? 2 hours. 2 hours? All right. I'm going to go ahead and put that after the recess. Is 10 minutes reasonable? Okay. All right. Well, why don't you go ahead, since Brad's still working on getting the YouTube video available, why don't you do that now? Brad, which mic should he use?
You can come down and use your mic there. You can select your any of the mics around.
Oh, okay. So any of the mics.
Narcan nasal spray is not a substitute for emergency.
community are people who are not in the room.
Yep. Oh, we redid our sheet. Bob's been busy. Cool.
I noticed that when I pick up food out of the food bank, Chris makes me sign the sheet that's got the free and the payment.
Go to one of the mics, Bob.
Sorry?
Could you pick a microphone and talk into a microphone? The one next to Adam is good, but then Adam, you gotta move.
Can you hear me?
Well,
Judy
Judy won't be able to hear you.
We also we're recording it on YouTube. So
Yeah,
it's
they're
gotta find a
recording.
microphone.
Adam, scoot over so you're 6 feet away.
Anyway, see, testing.
Is that good?
Is it working
Make sure
now?
the switch is on.
The switch is on.
And,
I feel a mild shock to it, so it's on.
yeah, you're on.
Okay, I'm on.
Yeah.
I guess.
Okay.
All right. Testing.
That's Judy.
Anyway, this is the sheet that David gave me with the archive data on it from White Book in the office. It was the first time I've been introduced to this.
Oh,
And I noticed right away that it's a different form, which the purpose is of what you're using it for. This is a sign-in form for the clients, and it made no sense. David has on the right 2 columns, he has a very narrow place to write on the desk, in the columns. He's not being given his due. So what I've done, I've prepared another sheet which is labeled number 1 at the bottom. As Pastor Hunt would say, numbers at the bottom of the page.
Yes.
Lutherans love that.
yes.
So on page number 1 is something I worked up, and I need input. The input being in the left 2 columns of I don't know what he's trying to say. What is F and what is P? What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything to me.
Families and people.
Okay, well,
individuals.
look at the headers in those 2 columns
I know.
and see if there's anything you want me to change. Tell me now, and I'll put it in there. If you even want to use the form, I don't know. What I did on the form was to give David some more space, so that when he makes.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, anytime.
I'm assuming this is electronically, so we can just do a whole year.
Oh yeah,
So we can.
that is just a sample page. Those dates are the dates that you see on all of these sheets are Mondays.
Right.
Okay, yes, and I've counted up the number of Mondays in each quarter. I've done the spreadsheets for the financial aspect of it by the quarter, and I've had to do 2 different searches because the food bank fiscal year is July to June, and so if we're interested in knowing how our finances line up with their finances, in other words, when we get a bill, how far ahead or how far behind are we with the finances that we have in stock in the bank, or what's it going to look like when we have to pay the bill. But anyway, this is the project number 1 that I wanted to tackle, was to get a sheet out, first of all, with the correct headers and what it is, and it's not names and addresses, it's the people you're serving, and then give David a column. There is 1 total column there, one column dedicated to each Monday that has the purchases or the free for the goods that we get. And then the next column over on the far right is, or next, yeah, I think it's 1 column. I'm not looking at it right now. It's for, if he has to go out during the week and pick up food, he's got someplace to write. And I hope I left him enough space. It can be altered. And if you want to use it, yes, I can get what I can get. I can put 4 quarters in the book. He's got a 3-hole. this doesn't have a 3-hole punch in it, so how,
We have a 3-hole.
okay, so I can bring in 4 quarters, next week, and, or this week actually, or next Monday, and you can put them in the book. You'll have a whole year, well, you'll have the 4 quarters for 2020.
That's good.
And if you want to use them, I'll bring them in. Okay, going on to page 2.
Can I,
I'm sorry.
ask, I like this, is it, I don't know what would need to be switched, but I would love to see a column that just said number of volunteers. Like how many helpers were between you and other people who were here and upstairs, downstairs?
Okay, number of volunteers.
Or could we do it on the date? Room in the date column.
I can make the first quarter / date on the far left column. I can split that into first quarter date and day of the week, day of the Monday, and then have a narrow column for the number of volunteers.
That's fine.
That would be great. I would
Okay,
just,
I'm really stingy for giving any space away from David.
yeah,
And so I can crimp up the others, I can put them together closer, but I want to give David because
to get the information.
honestly, I don't care what goes in this.
Uh-huh,
I mean, I pick up what I need to know from Chris out there, and that's all I need to know.
right.
And I don't need to monitor this. Now, that being said, when I leave town for about 2 months a year, I have to come back and catch up, or somebody can send me an email each week that tells me what, all I want is 2 things, the free weight and what we had to pay, the weight that we had to pay for, and I can put it, and I can email it back to you to keep you up to date. And you'll see why that's an advantageous thing to do when we get into the summary page, which is page 4. But anyway, that's page 4. I'm not there yet. So I will add a column for number of volunteers.
Hey, what are you doing? Oh, okay, never mind. You're allowed to chew on that.
Is there any other advice that I can? I'm open to this. This is nothing's cast in stone here. I mean, just if there's something else you'd like to see,
That would be good.
Yeah.
okay. All right, we'll move on. Page 2. It's a sample page. Page 2 is just a sample of the spreadsheet that lists the same. It's by the quarter. It lists paid, free, and total weight. It's accumulated at the bottom totals. Page 3 is actually has the last 2 rows in this spreadsheet can go away, or it's of interest to somebody, but I use the data. I use the data and it'll be, I'll tell you what happens when we get to page 4. But anyway, you notice the color code?
Yeah.
Green means you're above the average, which is a mean average. Average is a mean, but this is a mean average. It's an average of the mean, and I'll explain how I'm doing that. But if it's green, you're in the good. You're okay. If it goes in the red, which you will see on page 2, that is page.
On page 3.
That is on page 3, right? Page 2 does not have those last 2 columns because it's the first quarter. You don't need a year to date. It's there. The year to date is the total and the average. Only when you go into the second quarter do you need year to date. So it's pretty simple, but you'll see on page 3 that there's a red, the value in that red means that you don't want to keep doing that. Otherwise, you'll be above the mean, and this is all based on the money that I got from you, the $9,091 that was in the account.
And you divided it by 52?
Well, yes, and we'll get to that whole issue of when you guys are going to be open. This is problematic, not for me, but I mean for trying to figure out a budget for 2021, which is actually a budget for the food bank, or the Southeast Food, the SEFS, the Southeast Food Bank budget. I'm trying to keep things in focus for what we have to pay them at the end of their year, which is 6 months different from when we have it. So if we were on their cycle, which is basically we are, when I did this up, I put everything on their cycle, and there's very little data in there that's running on our January to December portion of it, except what you can see on the quarters that we use.
So if we're going to discuss this at greater length, we just need to make a decision of, whether we want to do this and then postpone some of the training, or whether we want to do the training and postpone some of this. I'm happy to do whatever is going to be the most helpful. Just in terms of time, we got to do probably one or the other if it's going to go more than a few more minutes.
Well, let's jump right away to page 4. I did not give myself a page 4. I thought I'd be sitting, sorry.
Oh, so
I did not give
page.
myself a page 4 because I thought I was going to be sitting at a table in the conference room, and I'd have my laptop in my lap, and I would have page 4 on there. And, but that's, well, you can't. Okay. Okay. Page 4 is a summary page. Some of these rows and columns I put in here for my edifications because I key off of them. One example of that is in the middle of the spreadsheet. There's a Monday count. That's an evolving count for every piece of data I put in the spreadsheet. It counts it, and that count goes into other programs or other formulas that I have within the spreadsheets in the budget. So it's just a counter. The policy, I don't even know if there's a policy of holidays, federal holidays, that the Southeast Food Bank is closed, that you want to be open. Personally, my own personal viewpoint on this is that I think the food bank should be open every Monday, regardless of, except for Christmas, if Christmas fell on a Monday, because clients don't take off eating. And so that would help me out tremendously, because every year would have 52 weeks and have 52 Mondays. And
we were open yesterday for the first time.
Yeah.
well, that would be reflected. I would keep track of that, and I would adjust the average weekly budget accordingly, instantly.
The only one that I can see going forward will be the possibility of the 7th of September, which is Labor Day.
Okay. There
People
are.
are willing to be open and are willing to pick up the food. It seems to me that because the food bank's closed, that means everybody else is going to be closed. I know it's not quite the same issue as the last Monday of the month, but it's still, people, obviously, it's hard for them to get here, but people are more in need because everybody else is closed.
Yeah. So that, just this year, I mean, it changes. Of course, because Christmas comes around, but this year Christmas will not be. It's a Thursday.
Well, this is a dynamic
Yeah.
estimation anyway. There's nothing in here. None of this data is cast in stone. It's trying to get us to a place where we can have some estimate as to how much we're spending, how rapidly, how it relates to how much money we have left. Even the funds available is a variable, because money comes in as money goes out. It's a savings account. It's a dedicated fund, I guess. It's not a budgeted amount that the church gives us every year, because that's not real money. You've got this stuff. In fact, this is in jeopardy, I think, what's in our savings account, because it's dependent upon the funds that we have that we're spending for the church, and I'm outside of the program that we have for this mission. The mission itself has funds that I'm taking money out of in this software, and anytime it's replenished, I have to know that, so I keep a balance on that money. And so I have to ask that question all the time. Did somebody, and do I go to the treasurer to do that? What's the account look like today? Have people given it made a deposit with a special gift for the food bank, then it goes into this account. I update this sheet, and this sheet adjusts for the average weekly total that we have. And that's something to look at to say, well, this is the guideline. Because if you take the amount of money that we spend and you don't compare it to anything, you don't know where you are in the fog. It'll look like a sawtooth, up and down, up and down. Well, how does that relate? Well, you've got to average that out over whatever period you're looking at, and we're doing it by the quarter, and we're doing it by these quarters pile up, and the quarters themselves are averaged. So it gives you a better idea as to where you might be at the end of our fiscal year. Then I have to take that whole thing and adjust it to the fiscal year for the food bank.
So do you want a monthly or a quarterly total of what is in that account? What's been received?
It doesn't matter to me. As much, give me what you want to give me, how frequently you want these numbers to be updated on the summary sheet. Otherwise, they'll just sit like they are.
Okay.
And I don't know what else to say about that. And then at the very last row across on that summary sheet, a projected year-end date. That's a projected. How much money are we going to have in that account at the rate we're going? And I only have 13 data points. And I'm going to update them tonight because I went back in the book and got some more. I'm going to try to be as fastidious as I can about getting these points. When I go out to get the food, I'll be sure I come back with what I need. And like I said, I don't need the other sheet that the form.
We can replace your sheet with that sheet. There's no problem with that.
Right, but I don't even need to look at that, because I'm only interested in two things. I need to know the weights, paid and not, and then everything else will adjust itself in here. And I also, I guess I need three things. I need to know what's in the
Corbin,
what's in the bank.
Corbin, calm down.
Okay. But anyway,
have to be 6 feet away
projected
from Karen.
year end is for us, our fiscal year end in December. And then, and that can be a report on its own, but the second column over is the billing cycle for the food bank, July through June. And to the right of that is spending. How much have we spent? Well, I can't start that yet because I don't have any July data. I'm starting in their next fiscal year. So we're going to get a bill from them in July early, and then we pay that, and then starting July 1, I start computing that column, and you will know from the quarter to quarter, their quarter, how much we're going to owe in June of 2021. I mean, that's just may be of interest to people. That will be, if I don't have any missing data, that will be factual. because and his, the rate that they're charging is 16 cents a pound. Chris said they haven't had a change in over 10 years. But that's the 16 cents a pound is stable. And so next year, from July of this year to June of next year, we'll have an accurate, or even approaching that date of the end of June. We'll have a fairly good idea where we stand, and we can compare what we're going to owe to what's actually in the balance of that account. And that's, to me, that's a good thing to know. You don't want to overdraft on that. And like I said, it's an in and out account. It may not have been paid back because it's used to pay bills. I'm assuming that's how anything in the dedicated account is still being used like that. That's the way it was when I was treasurer. We always tried to reimburse the savings,
absolutely.
the savings account. And if that money is still there, or most of it, we can pay our bills. Not a problem.
Okay, well, thank you for tracking this. If there's other input, Karen, that you have, I'm not trying to stop you from talking to Bob. Just what I'm going to do then is move the training that we had scheduled for tonight. We can either schedule an additional session, or we can do it next month. I know you requested it last month, but at this point, we don't have time to, unless y'all want to stay until 7:15. I can do the training if you want to stay till 7:15. So it's at your pleasure. Which agenda you want to go with? We'll show the Narcan video one way or another.
Right.
But the rest of the training, I need a bigger chunk of time.
Well, and the other part to that is, I'm not quite sure what David is doing, but I would really like to have David be a part of it.
So,
Just because, we're kind of the nuts and bolts of it all, and it would be helpful.
okay, so then the question is, do y'all want to do, we can do next Tuesday, which is first Tuesday of the month, or we can wait until our regular meeting last Tuesday of the month. But then, again, we'll run into the same problem that if there's any other business, I need it on the schedule in order to space the time out. So would you rather try for next Tuesday, or would you rather try for our next regular meeting? Thank you, Bob. And Judy, your voice is important here too.
Yeah. I'm okay with next Tuesday. The only reason I think about waiting until the end of the month.
That is 2 months out from when it was requested.
Well, no, not just that, but the fact that if things open up and I start traveling.
Oh, okay. How, Judy, Bruce, Adam, thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Judy, Bruce, Adam, we're going to just make the decision for David. Are you okay with next Monday or next Tuesday?
Yeah, that's fine.
Judy said yes.
She said yes.
Bruce, Adam? Okay. So we'll do the Narcan video tonight.
Yes.
And then let Brad talk about the food handler's card and the bulk of the people. I'm trying to say it nicely, but people acting out in ways that we really can't let them.
Like Corbin is right now.
Yeah, we'll do that
He's with his
next week.
surrogate daddy.
Okay. So again, these are the kits. You're welcome to examine them. Put on gloves at this time. There's some over by the sink by the library, and again, Karen's making sure that there's one downstairs, and I'll make sure that I get some that are not expired. Brad, will you roll the video?
Yeah, now, Judy, I don't have a way of, maybe I can share my screen. I'm going to use that in a minute here. I'm going to do a little bit of magic here to do this. So, in a minute,
dogs on your shirt? Bruce?
Huh?
Is that cats or dogs?
Dog.
That's pretty good.
Don't let him act out too much with you.
I'm not.
He gets away with a lot more with Bruce than he does with,
I was gonna say,
me and Brad.
well, yeah, because he's like the uncle.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you should see him at our house. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, Uncle Bruce, Uncle Bruce, Uncle Bruce, Uncle Bruce. And it's like, Corbin,
No.
behave yourself.
He's not mommy or daddy, he's Uncle Bruce.
Oh, yeah, and he tried to follow Bruce out, you know, and it's like, trying to keep him inside the garage.
Narcan nasal spray is not a substitute for emergency medical care.
It's not
As
up
with
here now,
any
though.
drug, you need to be aware of important safety information concerning its use. Please see indications and important safety information at the end of this video. Also, please see accompanying full prescribing information in the use of this product. Narcan nasal spray is an emergency treatment for a known or suspected opioid overdose. The appropriate use of Narcan nasal spray can help you save a life. Narcan nasal spray is not a substitute for emergency medical care. As with any drug, you need to be aware of important safety
So you gonna
information
pause it?
concerning its use.
Yeah, hang on.
If you encounter someone who is unresponsive and you suspect an overdose, first shake their shoulders and shout their name.
Sorry.
Ask if he or she is
Just
okay.
click on it to pause it,
Check for
Brad.
signs of an
I'm
overdose,
trying.
unresponsive to touch or voice, breathing is slow, uneven, or has stopped,
There's a curse.
snoring,
Okay, good. And the full screen is in the lower right corner.
No, but if I do that, it won't get out onto the other screen.
Ah, okay.
So there's a reason I'm doing this, but I'm also having some trouble getting off my, why is the screen not updating? Give me a second.
We are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by. We are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Why are we not using the screen?
So those two kits that we have, even though they're the same color, they're exactly the same.
They're exactly the
They're
same,
different
yeah.
colors.
She just handed me these, and of course I'm like, oh, purple.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm gonna cannibalize the pencil case and the gloves, and, I mean, everything except the meds.
Right, right.
And the meds, just so you know, the meds do freeze, so you can't carry them. I mean, and Front Street will give them out to anybody who has enough, enough interest and potential use for them to use them. But you can't like leave them sitting in your car because once they freeze, they're no longer good. But other than that, there are people. I mean, people depending on their work and their life who carry them with them.
Right.
Okay, so I think we're ready to do it
and gasping or gurgling sounds. Fingernails or lips are blue or purple. Administer Narcan nasal spray as quickly as possible if someone is
Are you restarting
unresponsive and an opioid overdose
please
is
restart it?
suspected, even when in doubt, because prolonged respiratory depression may result in damage to
Okay, now go down to the bar on the bottom.
Yeah, I see.
Okay. There you go.
Okay,
Thank you.
try it again.
Narcan nasal spray is not a substitute for emergency medical care. As with any drug, you need to be aware of important safety information concerning its use. Please see indications and important safety information at the end of this video. Also, please see accompanying full prescribing information in the use of this product. Narcan nasal spray is an emergency treatment for a known or suspected opioid overdose. The appropriate use of Narcan nasal spray can help you save a life. Narcan nasal spray is not a substitute for emergency medical care. As with any drug, you need to be aware of important safety information concerning its use. If you encounter someone who is unresponsive and you suspect an overdose, first shake their shoulders and shout their name.
Kevin.
Ask if he or she is okay.
Okay.
Check for signs of an overdose, unresponsive to touch or voice. Breathing is slow, uneven, or has stopped. Snoring, gasping, or gurgling sounds. Fingernails or lips are blue or purple. Administer Narcan nasal spray as quickly as possible if someone is unresponsive and an opioid overdose is suspected, even when in doubt, because prolonged respiratory depression may result in damage to the central nervous system or even death. Lay the person on their back to receive a dose of Narcan nasal spray. Remove Narcan nasal spray from the box. Peel back the tab with the circle to open it. Remove and review the printed quick start guide inside the package. Hold the Narcan nasal spray with your thumb on the bottom of the plunger and your first and middle fingers on either side of the nozzle. Do not press the plunger to test or prime the device. If you do, you will waste all or part of the dose of medication. Tilt the person's head back and provide support under the neck with your hand. Gently insert the tip of the nozzle into one nostril until your fingers on either side of the nozzle are against the person's nose. Press the plunger firmly to give the full dose of Narcan nasal spray. Remove the device from the nostril after giving the dose. After you have given this medication, seek emergency help right away. Narcan nasal spray is not a substitute for emergency medical care.
I'm with somebody who stopped breathing. I think they've had an overdose.
Move the person on their side after giving Narcan nasal spray. If possible, put their hands under their head and bend their upper leg forward. This helps prevent the person from rolling onto their stomach. This is known as the recovery position. Continue to watch the person closely. If they do not wake up or respond to your voice or touch, or if they do not seem to be breathing normally within 2 to 3 minutes, use a new Narcan nasal spray to give an additional dose in the other nostril. Acute opiate withdrawal symptoms may occur from use of Narcan nasal spray in patients who are opioid dependent. Symptoms include body aches, diarrhea, increased heart rate or tachycardia, fever, runny nose, sneezing, goosebumps, also known as piloerection, sweating, yawning, nausea or vomiting, nervousness, restlessness or irritability, shivering or trembling, abdominal cramps, weakness and increased blood pressure. When the emergency is over, put the Narcan nasal spray back in its box and throw it away in a place that is away from the reach of children. In addition to watching this video, please read the quick start guide that comes with Narcan nasal spray before using it. Talk to a healthcare professional if you have any questions about how to administer Narcan nasal spray. Please read the indications and important safety information that follows. Store Narcan nasal spray at room temperature degrees Fahrenheit, 15 to 25 degrees centigrade. Do not freeze Narcan nasal spray. Keep Narcan nasal spray in the box until ready to use. Protect from light. Replace Narcan nasal spray before the expiration date on the box. Keep Narcan nasal spray and all medicines out of the reach of children. Indications. Narcan, naloxone hydrochloride nasal spray, is an opioid antagonist indicated for the emergency treatment of known or suspected opioid overdose, as manifested by respiratory and/or central nervous system depression. Narcan nasal spray is intended for immediate administration as emergency therapy in settings where opioids may be present. Narcan nasal spray is not a substitute for emergency medical care. Important safety information. Narcan nasal spray is contraindicated in patients known to be hypersensitive to naloxone hydrochloride. Seek emergency medical assistance immediately after initial use, keeping the patient under continued surveillance. Risk of recurrent respiratory and CNS depression. Due to the duration of action of naloxone relative to the opioid, keep the patient under continued surveillance and administer repeat doses of naloxone using a new nasal spray with each dose as necessary while awaiting emergency medical assistance. Risk of limited efficacy with partial agonists or mixed agonist-antagonists. Reversal of respiratory depression caused by partial agonists or mixed agonists-antagonists,
Brad, how much
such as
is the more is the
buprenorphine
legal
and
use?
pentazocine, may be incomplete.
How much more is the
Larger
legal use?
or
Can you
repeat
move them out?
doses may be required.
That's a lot.
Precipitation of severe
I
opioid
think you can
withdrawal.
stop it if
Use
it's,
in patients who are opioid dependent may precipitate
Oh,
opioid
that's what I'm saying is,
withdrawal,
can you show us how much
characterized
is
by
left on
body
the,
aches, diarrhea,
by clicking
increased
over
heart
the,
rate, tachycardia, fever, runny nose, sneezing, goosebumps, piloerection, sweating, yawning, nausea or vomiting, nervousness, restlessness or irritability, shivering or trembling, abdominal cramps,
You don't spend that
weakness,
much time on
and
YouTube, do
increased
you?
blood pressure. In neonates, opioid withdrawal
Just
may
click on
be
it.
life-threatening if not recognized and properly
Okay.
treated, and may
That's
be
another
characterized by
whole nother
convulsions, excessive crying, and
minute. Okay, you're more than welcome to read the legalese. I know I said I was going to let you look at these, but I'm actually going to open them because it's important that you know there are gloves in here. Put on the gloves. They didn't do that in the video. So there are gloves in here. There are 2 doses in each kit. So when it says after 2 minutes, you know, reapply if there's no response, there are two doses. There's also a face shield in here. So we got gloves, we got directions and all the legalese. We got a face shield. There's a quick start guide here. And as I said, 2 doses per kit. Also, just in general, if you're going to do this, because you're not going to be alone, call 911 immediately. You don't have to, wait. And I've been told that there is not a lot of risk of damage to most people. It won't work for other types of drugs, but other than opioids. But I've been told that it's better to administer. If you're not sure, it's better to administer than non-administer. And then the other thing is that in the video, she was, caring for him and patting on his back and stuff like that. I've been told that if you kill someone's high, when they wake up, they're going to be pissed. So administer it, put them in a safe position, step back. That's lovely. But the potential of the person waking up in a nice, good mood is or the other thing is that they could be vomiting and stuff, and so you don't want to be next to that. So those are my only cautions.
Yeah.
Any comments or questions on that? So there's been an effort across the country, but in Juneau, to make sure that there's plenty around so that people are not dying of overdoses. I was told that there was an overdose death last week. I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah.
It is. And I was told it was an opioid overdose. Do you know? It's heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking. So anyway, that's the Narcan thing. Brad, you've got a couple of minutes to talk about the food handler's card.
Okay, it's not terribly likely that the health inspectors that handle your restaurants and stuff are likely to come and see us, but we are subject to the various rules. Now, because we are not charging for what we serve, there are exceptions we fall under, but it is still a good idea for us to follow food safety rules here.
Get next to him, Mike.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Really? Why do I have to do that?
Because Judy's on.
And
Be
also,
like everybody else. I don't need a mic.
I don't need a mic. But we should follow food safety protocols when we're doing things. If we were just handing out food that we get from the food pantry that's packaged food, not very serious. But the fact is, we do repackage food often here, and so we really should make sure everyone that handles food has a food handler's card. We do also have 2 church members who have their food safety manager certificates, and that's Randy and me. Also called the ServSafe certificates, because they're really the only company I'm aware of that actually does that certification. If anyone else is interested in getting it, Randy and I can tell you how to get it. It's good for 5 years. Once you get it, it's a 1-day course. Then you got to take a test to get it. It's a nice thing to have.
That's the manager one, not the food handlers.
That's the manager one. The food handler card, Bruce already has his, and you have yours currently? And so they also last, I think, 3 to 5 years or so, I think, once you get it. I think so.
I was going to say, do you have it?
Probably carry it with you. Bruce, do you still carry yours in your wallet? Oh, okay. So I know Bruce has his because I made everyone at St. Vincent who was doing popcorn or, working in the kitchen get theirs. I still have one test left over. The test are only $5, but right now the state has suspended all fees. So right now it's free.
Do it now.
Right, we should do it now. And I'll go online and get the test numbers because I have an account that already signed up to get test
And do we
numbers.
take the test online?
Yes, you take the test online.
That's online.
Well, yeah, it's easy to do, but you do need probably to do the review online. So I'll get the where the review is, and then I'll send you a test number. And the reason you need to do that is most of it, I'd say 80% is intuitive,
When
but
does yours expire?
Mine's 3/11/21.
so most of it is intuitive, but Bruce will tell you, and I'm sure Adam will tell you, some of it's not. For example, questions about what temperature to cook meats, how to cook chicken and pork, and where to put things in the refrigerator, and things like that you have to, have looked, you have to have heard, or recently in order to pass that part of the test. And there are some questions on there. There are sample quizzes that have all the stuff on there, so you do a little bit of studying before you do it, you pass that. So we should really do that. And we should then in the kitchen make sure that no one is handling food, repackaging food like fish sticks or whatever that does not have a food handler card, so that if anyone ever comes in. And once you get that, you'll know that we need to have gloves on. I mean, the stuff we're doing for COVID-19 is pretty much stuff we need to do. You need to have gloves on for if you're handling food and wash up and all that kind of stuff.
So I will create a distribution list, if there's not one already, the food pantry email distribution list.
Do we have Danielle's email? I'll text her and get her
Oh, okay.
email.
Well, okay, and Brad, then, if you will put that in an email, we can forward it
Sure.
to everybody on the distribution list, which is the same thing that I'll do with I'm gonna give you a couple referrals next week. Then we can email those out.
Yeah, and also I will then we don't have the signage correct around the church for this either. We need the signage, in the work areas about you must wash your hands before you handle food, and we need to have signage in the bathroom that all, employees is not the right word for us, but all staff needs to wash hands before we also need to add some COVID-19 signage in the bathrooms, Karen pointed out too. So we'll get that signage in place, so if anyone ever comes in, we have the correct signage in there. And then
Maybe we can have that by the work party on Saturday. I know
Sure.
it's worship.
yeah, I mean, I have all the signage already done for St. Vincent, so I just need to change the logos on the signs for doing all that. And then, as I've mentioned, I want to look into getting the kitchen recertified. I know it was certified a long time ago. There's levels of certification, and because it was a daycare, it didn't have the highest level of certification. But it wouldn't be a bad idea to do that. And in part of my long-term plan for being able to rent the space out would be that we could let people, if they were doing a reception, have access to a commercial kitchen, maybe even us doing some catering and stuff
So
like
it
that.
doesn't cost the church anything for you to investigate what is needed for the church, for the kitchen to get certified, right?
Actually, it doesn't even cost the church anything to get certified because there's a waiver for nonprofits.
As long as it meets the requirements, yeah.
Right.
So that's the investigation you're gonna do though, is
Right.
what would it need in order to get?
Right, what we qualify for certification. Actually, I take it since I see the tank out there that says grease on it, that there must be a grease trap somewhere in the kitchen. That was a problem St. Vincent had, is it was so old, there was no grease trap in the kitchen. And so I assume there's a grease trap somewhere. So I need to do the investigation of what's in there, what's not, and what it would take to get the kitchen recertified if we want to do that.
Yeah, and that'll become part of the whole discerning.
Yeah, partly, I know there's still the discerning process of what we want to
But
do
no,
and all that.
I think getting the information is great.
Right, and so I spent today, by the way, putting in here the recording studio, which is a box about that big. It's in the back now, back there. That turns this into a full 8 different channel recording studio, because a number of people have mentioned now that, for one, the acoustics in here are good.
Okay, I'm gonna take away the mic because that's a worship committee.
I know. So, but I'm just going to mention though.
You're more than welcome to talk to the president to get that on the council agenda.
Right. So I think we should have the agenda.
I just want to mention the fees for the food handling card can be reimbursed through our budget. so our food.
Excellent.
But right now.
But if it's free right now, that's a good time to do it.
It is free, I didn't know.
Yeah,
Oh, that's what I said. The state waived all fees during the COVID-19
Oh,
for
yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And then my notary
Yeah.
fees are waived and.
Oh, good, get notarized.
What?
I know.
Stop talking, get notarized. Take the bar. Okay. Is there anything else for the good of the food pantry team? Other than everybody who interacts with David is going to tell David we've scheduled a training next Tuesday at 5:30, right? Everybody say yes. Okay.
Yes, yes.
We'll let him know.
Anything else? Please stand as you are able, and we will close with the Lord's Prayer. Judy, you can remain seated. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you, everybody. Oh, and if you have things like, like what Bob was doing or other things that need to be brought up at the meeting, as much as possible, let me know and give me a time estimate so that I can.
That's my bad.
Oh, okay, so just for agenda planning.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Judy. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, you gotta get Justin in here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm going back.
I
I'm
know.
back. He'd have been here tonight, but he got called into work.
Oh, did he?
Aw.
Oh,
I mean, I'm glad that he's working,
but,
Got the midnight shift.
I'm probably going to take you walking through,
but,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, I think Justin's gonna have a little bit of fun in here.
Hey, come on, he's not open.
Yeah. That will be exciting.
Lisa's interested in camera work. You just gotta
I know.
get her here. Thanks for coming, Bruce.
Yeah.
Bruce, I got a thing of food, don't leave yet.
Don't leave, Bruce.
Oh, I got that thing that there's a basket down there, there's food in it for you.
Oh, okay.
So just
Oh,
give me
yeah.
a second.
I cooked it up last night.
Yeah, all right.
Burnt butter and a
Burnt
little bit of
butter?
pepper. Oh, yeah.
Brad, did you bring food for Bruce?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right there.
Oh. Leave it, it's in the basket right there.
All right.
Yeah.
Corbin, you gotta stay with us, shucks.
I'm sorry.
I wanna go to Uncle Bruce's.
Okay.
I wanna go play with Karen, she hoards my toys. And then gives me new ones.
Tomorrow it's going to be, I've been painting
Oh,
in
you're
between walls. But tomorrow it's gonna be sunny, so I am taking, just to let you know, in case I get, hit by a bus. I am taking that Lorraine
Sorry, 20 in
Blue
there.
file that was in my president's slot.
Uh-huh.
I'm taking it home so I can be put on hold forever to talk to them because they got the check.
Okay, good. Oh, Karen, tomorrow, Amanda, and, well, I haven't signed up, I have to see if I can still sign up. There's a free, during this time, the Godly Play
Oh,
group is
yeah.
allowing us to take free courses online, and the intro is tomorrow at 2. So Amanda's gonna take it. I'm gonna see if they'll still let me sign up, but I just wanna let you know in case you're interested.
And it's through ELCA or through,
Godly Play,
well, I'll just search it.
yeah, I don't know that it's ELCA specific. Might be like a Presbyterian thing or something like that. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But they have they have a lot of courses, but the intro course is taught like I think once a month or every 2 weeks, and then there are other courses that are free during the pandemic.
All right.
What course is it?
Godly Play, it's,
Whoa!
get kids involved,
Okay.
and
Okay.
He did a good job on this.
so, yeah, so I'm gonna take that file so I
Okay.
can talk to them.
Thank you.
I
You
don't
want
know
it
how good it's gonna be, but I'm gonna talk to them.
Well, you're gonna hold for it at any rate.
I'm gonna hold.
Thank you. So yeah, that's your food.
sorry it didn't.
Well, that's all right.
Bob thought he was on the schedule and I thought he wasn't, so.
No worries. All right, so I take the bag.
Yeah.